guys, it's Emily from Novel Novels and welcome to today's extra video, my Mentalhealthathon wrap up. Not going to be a long one because I'm obviously doing my normal wrap up that should be coming out next week. But I wanted to sort of go over some of the books that I've read this month for Mentalhealthathon and give you a little update, because obviously I stopped blogging halfway through the month because it got pretty darn tough. I know it sounds silly, but I get paranoid about my ratings of my videos and it was not getting great ratings. I found it was getting a lot more about me being very emotional because I've had a really tough month. Between Mentalhealthathon books and my own mental health, it's taken a real battering, which is why in the second half of the month I ended up sort of going more to my chick lit books, stepping away from Mentalhealthathon books a little bit and focusing on myself a lot more. And I've realised that going forward in June I can't be putting too many pressures on myself. In June it looks like I'm still going to be homeschooling Mia. Thomas will be back at school, which in itself is full of anxieties. When you see this video, it's going up on the Wednesday and Thomas would have gone back on the Tuesday, and there is a lot of mum guilt going around. We're trying not to talk about COVID-19 too much on this channel, but it has affected me quite a lot, and it was the toughest decision I've ever made, making the decision to send Thomas back. But he is in reception and he has missed his friends, and especially with his speech and language delays, I felt that it's right for him to go back and see his friends and develop, because there is only so much I can do, and I feel like I've been pushing and pulling myself, like all of us parents, to extremes, which in itself has really pushed me. But yeah, he's gone back. I am not sleeping at the moment. As I film this on the Monday, and this is going out on the Wednesday, I've not been sleeping very well because of the anxiety of it. Like, I've kept my kids in this bubble for so long, and to let them out of it, to go back to seeing people again, I am worried about my own mental health. I'm worried that I'm going to have panic attacks. I'm worried how I'm going to cope, and also because I have to seem strong. Mia and Thomas cannot see me falling apart. It's not fair on them, and they have to get me excited. Today I got up early. I'm starting to get routines ready for tomorrow. I'm going to spoil them both. That's why I'm getting a couple of videos pre-filmed so that I can focus on them today and really make sure that they have the best last day of the term. So yeah, May's been a bit of an emotional month. Like with so many of us, we've had so much of this lockdown and we've had so much of it, and it's affected the good ones, that are only people like myself who have mental health issues with my PTSD. On the day this comes out, I would have just had my first therapy session for my PTSD, and that's another thing that I'm finding challenging. Thank you, Victoria, so much for being there for me. Like, the day that I had my first assessment for it, she was so supportive, and she said that it was understandable that I'd reached rock bottom that day. And that was when I made the decision that I was going to stop vlogging. I'm not going to put my pressure on myself to do any more vlogs at the moment. Although, I think I'm going to say, but I think what I hope to do is, there is going to hopefully be Victober in October, and I think I'd like to do some vlogging for that, because that's a readathon that I'm really, really excited about. And so that's a sneaky peek. That'll be where I'll be going on that. But yeah, Mentalhealthathon's been a tough month. But, sneaky peek, I read quite a lot of books this month, but I wanted to do this video to show you, to talk about the books that I've read for Mentalhealthathon and tell you what I've learned and explain why I've done the way things I've done. And thank you all basically for being so supportive. So the first ones I'm going to show you are the books that I plan to read for it, and then I'll show you some of the extra ones. I don't have all of the books with me because some of them I would have already got rid of, because you know what I'm like. The first one was my Host Picks book. I chose to read Elephant is Completely Fine. I was going to also read Turtles All the Way Down, but because, again, where my mental health was, I decided that I wasn't going to push myself too hard and do that. This one I've read before. It was 4 stars last time I read it. It's 4 stars again. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Eleanor is, I think she is on the autism spectrum. I don't know. They never sort of diagnose it exactly. But she's had a really hard hitting life. She has PTSD, I would say, again, not being diagnosed. But sorry, I know that you're not supposed to say what you think. They're just things that I'm picking up on. As to whether they did or not, I don't know. I'm not qualified. It's not my place to say. But she's safely said a really hard hitting life. And she acts like she's completely fine. She has a bottle of vodka every Friday, gets on with her life, very same old, same old. And then something happens and she meets this guy, Ray, and they end up having to help this old gentleman, and their friendship develops, and Eleanor realises her life is not as fine as she thinks it is. How many of us can relate to that? safe to say this is one of the few books I'm keeping. Thank you so much, Simone, for getting me to reread this. I thoroughly loved it. And that was 4 stars. Now this one, The Choice, is a hard-hitting book. I'm not actually, I think I've changed my mind. I was going to keep this, but I've changed my mind. I'm not now. This is Even in Hell, Hope Can Flower. And this is basically my choice. This is called The Choice. I've rated it 4 stars. And it starts off in 1944. A 16-year-old ballerina, Edith Ego, is sent to Auschwitz, separated from her parents on arrival. She endures unimaginable experiences, including being made to dance for the infamous Joseph Mengele. This is not so much about Auschwitz, but this is explaining how her life changes after Auschwitz, and it goes through all of her life. And you hear how these bad experiences will change you, but it's not about letting it beat you, if that makes sense. You shouldn't let your past beat you. You need to learn to wait, but also running away from your past isn't going to help. You need to face it. Something I've learnt myself, and that's been why this is very hard-hitting, because her PTSD and some of the things she suffers from have certainly affected me. Like, I've had a fair few traumas, and I think it's now that I'm facing up to them, and now that I will beat them. And reading about her doing that was really good, so definitely one I recommend. The Shock of the Fall was the one that I wanted to read for something to learn about, mental health issues that I wanted to learn more about, and that's schizophrenia. So basically we start off with this guy. I'll tell you what happened because it will be a good way to introduce my brother. His name is Simon. I think you're going to like him, I really do, but in a couple of pages he'll be dead, and he was never the same after that. So the lead character in this has schizophrenia, and you learn so much about that. You learn about his life and about how he goes in. It is very hard-hitting. Someone I know and very close to me has schizophrenia and has mental health problems and got admitted to a mental health hospital, and that was very hard-hitting, the memories that it brought back, which is why, yes, I'm going to keep this to reread it, but not for a very long time, because it was so hard-hitting. Thoroughly greatly written, and it really does explain the mental health side of it very well. I can't deny how good that is, but it's very hard-hitting. So this one is actually probably one of my joint favourites of the month, Am I Normal Yet by Holly Bourne. First in the Spencer trilogy, one of the ones that I've been most excited to read. It's my YA book pick for the book. All Evie wants to be is normal, and now that she's almost off her meds, and a new girl at college where she knows that no one knows that she's the girl that went nuts. And it's about, again, mental health. She's got various different mental health problems, which I won't tell you too much about. OCD is one of them, anxiety, depression, various other mental health problems. I wish I would have read this as a younger, because I would have realised that I wasn't the only person that had this. What is normal? That's very much of a term that can be taken in very well. No, I am normal, that's for sure. It's very hard-hitting. This book made me very tearful, but I'm so glad I've got it. Thank you, Nicole and Victoria and Simone, for encouraging me to try this book, and it's one that I cannot wait to finish off the Spinster trilogy. Sorry, I've come upstairs to record and no drink. The next one was the oldest book on my TBR, and this is Philomena. This is about in 1952, Philomena Lee falls pregnant and is sent away to a convent. She basically looks after her little boy for 3 years, and then she's forced to give him up for adoption, and he's going to be moving to America. I thought this would be more about Philomena, but it's actually all about the little boy she gave up his side. And this tells you about his story, about he's trying to find his mum and all the different things he goes through. It tackles LGBTQ, tackles race, sort of really, really big issues about how you get judged, about who you are is what, because it's not just because of your blood, but it's about your environment you grow up in. It is very hard hitting. Good, I think I rated it 4 stars, but it's one I'm definitely getting rid of because it was too hard hitting, and I really struggle with that. The next one is another one that I plan to read, The Silver Linings Playbook, and this is the green on the front cover. Another one, I believe Pat has schizophrenia. Again, it's not said exactly. He lives in a world where so it's like when you're like, imagine your life is a film directed by God, a rom-com obviously, complete with happy ever afters, and Pat really believes he's going to get his happy ever after. We start as he is coming out of a mental health hospital, and you find out eventually why he ended up in there. He has forgotten what it is that caused him. He has several years of his life that have been erased because of an incident. And when he's trying to get back to it, and he's naughty because he doesn't take all his meds, and you find out how important it is to keep up with your meds. Very hard hitting. Really struggle with this game, but it is well written. I'm glad I read it. The next one is probably my least favourite of this, and I'm gutted because I bought this ages ago. It's the newest book on my TBR. Find enjoying it every day and letting go of being perfect. This has got an important load of lessons in it. Some bits of this book are really helpful. Other bits I found very generic. Not necessarily bits that I could relate to. I'm going to keep this because there are some bits in this book that I found very helpful, and other bits that I didn't. It's all right. It was a good enough non-fiction book, but nothing that jumped out of the woods for me. I still don't know. I'm going to keep it for now, but I might end up going at some point. And now I'm going to read. Now I'm going to explain the extra ones that I read because I borrowed them off Charlie, or because they were for other things in the month. Shadows of the Workhouse by Jennifer Ware. This is really tackling PTSD. It's about what things that happened in the workhouses, how people moved on their lives after the workhouse, after they left the workhouses, how people's lives are interlinked, how that sort of tough scenario can hit you in different ways and can make you learn different things. Very hard hitting, but very good. Loved buddy reading it with Simone. Loved it. Brilliant book. Thoroughly recommend this and tell everyone to keep it. The next one was my host pick of the month, which is The Prison Doctor. Oh my goodness, this is one of my favourite books of the whole month, and I absolutely loved it. But it is so hard-hitting. Dr. Amanda Brown treats inmates in UK's most infamous prison, from miraculous pregnancies to dirty process, from violent attacks to heartbreaking acts of self-harm. So there are triggers for self-harm, there are triggers for suicide, there are triggers for abuse, drug abuse, so many different things in this book. It is so hard-hitting, so do not go into this with your eyes closed. But it is thoroughly one of the best written books, I thought, and it was one that I'm so glad I read, Mentalhealthathon. Now, an extra book that I borrowed from Charlie. Oh my goodness. It's kind of a funny story. This one struck so many chords for me. I didn't think I could like it as much as I did, and for it to be a 5-star for a Mentalhealthathon just tells you. This is basically about a teenager in New York City, and he basically self-admits to a mental health ward. He wants to get help for his depression. He wants to get better. And following his journey to get better was amazing. I can't believe how much I related to this. I can't believe how much of his depression stuff I agreed. I found understanding. It taught me lessons. It's made me think about how I'm going to get myself better. And for that, I'm truly grateful that I've borrowed this. I learnt so much in this, and I know that I will get better. And I know I've been given some hints of how to do it, so thank you. This is such a good book. And then lastly, It's Not Okay to Feel Blue and Other Lies. You guys lots of people read this Mentalhealthathon. I know that Victoria read it, I know that Simone read it, I know that loads of people have read this. To me, it's 4 stars because it is got some real mixture. There are some fantastic stories in this. So many lessons. Scarlett Curtis's bit pieces alone are amazing, but they aren't all relatable because it's such a big book. You can see how big it is. It's over 500 pages, and it's a real mixed bag. Some stories I flew through and related to, others that were hish-pish, couldn't relate to. But again, that's what short stories. You're never going to get all of them you're going to love. You're never going to get all of them that you can relate to. But it is a good book, and thank you again, Charlie, for lending it to me. Anyway, Mentalhealthathon is over. I'm not sure if it will be running next year because Victoria put on Twitter, Nicole put on Twitter she might not be running it next year, but I'm glad I did it. I've certainly learnt that I've got to stop pushing myself as hard as I have been. I've learnt that it's better to talk to people, and I've learnt how lucky I am to have you guys because you've all been amazingly supportive, and I love you all to pieces. And I better go on and get on with things because I've had a great day, and I would like to go and enjoy the rest of this day. When this goes up, I hope you're all okay. I hope Mentalhealthathon, you all learn stuff. I hope that what I put up has been helpful, if it's been informative, if there's anything that I've done good or bad. And thank you all. If you've liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, not subscribed, ring on my ding-a-ling, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.